Hey guys, it's Mel. I'm going to attempt to do a tutorial. We'll call this a mini tutorial because I'm not the best at them. And like I mentioned in another video, I want to try to save up and get some type of equipment that allow me to like videotape, like I guess more of a downward view. I don't have that right now, and it's not really in my budget with Christmas and all coming. So I'm saving up for it, and like I mentioned in another video, I just recently added the advertisements to my videos, which I've been on YouTube for about a year, and I just now put them on. And like what that basically is, if you watch the video and you don't like if you watch the whole thing and you don't hit skip this ad, like slowly but surely it adds like, I guess it adds like a payment to you for advertising. So anyway, but you gotta wait till you build up, I think, $100 before they send you anything. So I'm hoping maybe my goal is to use that money, because I do this for fun. So my goal is to use that money once that builds up, and that could take a while to, you know, maybe get so where I can do more tutorials where you can actually see my hands, because it's kind of hard for me right now. I hate doing them like this because I'm kind of having to straddle this tripod, and it just doesn't feel natural to me, and it makes it hard for me to show you guys anything. So anyway, what we're going to try to do is, I showed you guys in the video before this, and I just kind of came up with this morning. This little ornament I made. It's my husband and I and our daughter, and it's one of those Michaels. I left the tag on it to show you guys. One of those Celebrate It. You all have seen these, and I'm sure they have it at other stores too. But I think I got this for like 70 cents on clearance like last year after the season. It just has this little topper, and you can decorate it however you want. And what I did is I just added my Christmas twine and some Martha Stewart glitter at the bottom, and a little wallet-sized photo of us, and then I added some snowflakes in it, and then added some tinsel in the back to it kind of helps your photo hold it forward. So this is what we're going to be making, but a mini version, and this one you most likely, because I'll show you the difference in the size. I have it started. This is the one we're going to be making, and you see the difference in the size. So there's probably not going to be room for the tinsel in there, but you'll get the idea, and the tinsel was nothing major. You just kind of stuffed it in there. So what I started with is you want to choose a photo. Now this one I wanted to see because it's Sunday here. I don't feel like doing anything today. Don't feel like doing my hair. So guess what? I'm not going to. So in other words, I didn't feel like going to Walgreens and getting pictures taken, or wherever you go for pictures. I mean, getting them developed. So I tried to find a Christmas picture from last year that I could use that was, you know, small enough that I could get it in there. So you'll see what the picture is in a minute, but I didn't want to take this out because it'll take me too long to do on camera. But what I basically did is you guys know that follow me, I don't really do a lot of measuring. Maya, turn that down a little bit. I don't really do a lot of measuring. So I happen to have this, which is an ornament die, but you could use anything, like, because we're trying to keep this as an inexpensive. You could use, you know, a roll of ribbon, if that's the circle, just anything with a circle shape you could use to trace out your photo. And that was about the size of this. So I used this as a template, just minus the ornament part. I just use it as a circle. And I cut this photo I'm about to insert in here. And I left it like this so I can show you guys. What you basically do is say this was your picture. Okay, you would just take it and just roll it up like a little roll, and then you would just put it in there that way. And I know you feel like you might be damaging the photo, you know, whatever, but you obviously don't want to bend it. You're just lightly rolling it enough to get it in. I'm going to show you what happens. So this is one, I just eyeballed it. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I wanted to do this for a video. So you just kind of roll it and then just slowly feed it in there, and then it'll start to open. So once it starts to open, you can kind of use your finger and straighten out where it lands, and kind of work with it that way. You can kind of press down in certain spots. So that was pretty good. I'm surprised at myself with being able to get that, you know, correct shape. So this wasn't a wallet-sized photo. This was just a regular photo, and I think it fit in there pretty good. So I got that in there. And what I would recommend though is, and I guess I could pull it back out, is maybe if you don't have an additional photo to like glue the same one on the back end, you could use like patterned paper. And I guess you could even, for this one so small, I'm not going to stick the tinsel behind it because I don't know if it's going to push this too much forward to where I don't really want it like that, because you'll see in a minute why. So what I would probably do is line it with patterned paper. So that way, in case it swings on your tree, you can see something decorative if you're not going to put a back-to-back photo. That's just an idea. So then, now once you have your photo inside, you can decide what you're going to add in as your little like shaker ornament. And I'm just going to do the same and use my, this is Martha Stewart coarse glitter in crystal, and it's Martha Stewart Holidays. But you don't have to use Martha Stewart glitter like I mentioned before. You can use dollar store glitter. You can use, you know, your kids' old glitter. You can use, you know what I mean? You just find stuff around the house. I'm sure you have something there, and so, you know, with your old crafts or whatever. It doesn't have to be Martha Stewart. So then what I basically did is something, you know, along the same idea. Is you take your paper, you take a piece of scrap paper, and I basically rolled it. So now what we're doing is making our own funnel. So see, just simple like this. And you take the cap off, you know, keep the cap off. And what you want to do is kind of stick your funnel in, but put it in front of your photo. And that's simple as that. See how I got it in front of the photo so that when it drops, it goes in there. Then you just kind of let it go. And you take your glitter. So we're going to open our glitter. This is another scrap paper. All I did was I folded it in half, using it like a little book. But I'm using that as, you know, something to help me with the glitter. So you pour a bunch of glitter, as much as you like, and you can always add more. So let me add this a little more. So I'll do about this much for now. You're probably going to spill it, make a mess, but who cares? We'll clean it up. So then you just take your little handmade funnel. You use your funnel as a guide, and just kind of slowly add your glitter in, just like that. And you see we have a little bit in there, and I think I want to do more than that, so I'll do a little bit more, maybe about the same amount. So we're going to add some more glitter.
That's cool, Mommy. You're doing good.
Thank you. Maya's over here watching, so I'm glad you approve, Maya. So, okay, so now you take it again, same thing. Use your little makeshift funnel and just pour, pour, pour. The important thing here is to make sure you have your funnel in front of your photo so it's not all going behind your photo. Alright, so I think that's good. That makes a good little snow scene. So you spread it out in there, and then now what I'd like to add is the snowflake. So again, I showed you these. These I got from, it had a little topper on it. If I had that, I'd show it to you. But it basically came like this, and it was like just little confetti. And it was in Hobby Lobby. You could probably find these anywhere. It doesn't have to be the same one. And if you don't have these, you could also use, like, I'm going to go grab mine. You could use a little snowflake punch. You know, an old punch, like I have these. This one's a Recollections one, and it's that snowflake that almost looks identical. Is that the same? Yeah, it looks pretty close to that one. Then I have this little teeny one. So you could just punch out a bunch out of white paper, nothing expensive. And then basically you're going to use your funnel again. And you're going to, these kind of get stuck in there, but especially with this one being smaller. So you really don't even need a funnel for these. So you know what, let's take it out. So look, there's one. It's coming to life. And then we add, you know, just randomly. And if they fall somewhere you don't like, you can shake it around a little bit. Don't shake it, you know, up and down, because you don't really want, you know, your glitter, although I see it, you know, it doesn't stick too bad. It's depending on what glitter you're using. But I'm going to throw a few more in here. And just kind of do that. Sorry if I'm not in frame. Okay, so then you just have your little snowflakes in there. And then basically all I did, the only other thing I did, is I took my Big Wad holiday twine, and you might have different colors. Use what you have. You could use yarn, you could use old ribbon, you could use ribbon off a gift. Anything you might have that's long enough just to tie a simple bow. And what I'm basically going to do is I cut a piece. I have to do this down here, so I wonder if I could get you down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm basically doing, and you just want to carefully because your lid's not on. And you know what, you probably could put your, I wonder if you could put your lid on. Let me put my lid on so we don't dump glitter all over. So the lid, all you gotta do is squeeze those pins back again, and then sometimes you gotta work, like I just squeeze these, so sometimes you gotta work with those to get them, make sure they're all on the outside. So there's that on there. And then what I basically did is I got my piece of twine, whatever you want to use to tie your bow, and I'm going to put it around the neck of this. The other one I did without the lid on, but since I'm doing this on camera, I'm sure I'm going to knock it over. So just for safety's sake, so I don't spill the glitter, I put the lid on. So you basically, you're tying a simple bow. You could do double layer, like if you wanted to do 2 strings, but I'm just going to do a simple bow like I did on my other one. And you can make it as big and small, the loops as big or small as you like. These ones I'm going to do a little smaller so it's proportionate with this smaller ornament. And then you just kind of mess with it to get it to where you want it. Okay.
Maybe you could like cut off part of it so it's not like so long.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to do that. But you don't cut it off until you're sure you're happy with it. And I like that. So we'll cut this here. Oh, thank you, Maya. I'll use these ones. Maya's helping. Oh, Maya, you're knocking the tripod. Sorry guys, this is real life here. Okay, so now we have our little bow, and I think that dresses it up just nice. So now the only other thing you want to do, if you want to, is to add a string to it so you can hang it somewhere or on your tree or from wherever you like. Maybe just if you just want to hang it from a hook, it doesn't necessarily have to be a tree ornament. So again, you take your twine, cut another piece. Just kind of eyeball it. I don't measure anything, and of course you want to cut this tag off, but I left that on to show you guys. This one was a $1.29 size, so if that helps anybody. So you just want to stick your little thing in here, and this is just another simple, knot tying. So what you basically want to do is just tie a knot. So do that, get it the length that you want, and they don't need to be real long because they're just going to kind of hang, and you don't want it spinning too much so that it shows the back and not your pretty front. But if you put, you know, like the pattern, the Christmas pattern paper, it would be okay if it spins. Okay, so I only want mine to have this little one here. So after you make sure that your knot's nice and tight, and I did a double knot, just to be sure, you just take the ends off and kind of snip them nice and close. And then there you have it. So then you have your little handmade shaker ornament with your snowflakes. And I think it looks nice, like a little 3D thing. And let me back you up here. And there's your little 3D ornament. So we're going to give this to Maya's mom, which is my husband's mother, my mother-in-law. And we're going to give this to her in a little gift box with some cutesy Christmas tissue paper as a gift from Maya. So quick, easy, simple, and if you happen to get these and pay attention to this next year, if you like the idea, pay attention to the sales this year, this year at when Christmas is over, and you know how everything's like 60 to 90% off. Pick up a bunch of these for next year, and you'll get them at really cheap prices like I did. I think this one was like $1/4 last year, and I should have got more, but I thought, what am I going to do with these? But I wish I got more now, because I'm going to make, like I mentioned in my other video, I'm going to make one for, like I have a picture of my sister, my brother-in-law, and their son, like a little family photo, and I'm going to get it in wallet size, and then make them an ornament for their tree, for their own personalized ornament. And I think it's a nice, you know, inexpensive, easy to make gift. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Sorry, this is kind of like my first or so tutorial, if I could talk right. And it's hard for me, like I said, I don't have the proper camera equipment, but it'll do, and I hope it gave you an idea. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and I hope you like that. And I'll show you the two side by side. This was the other one I made. Whoops, right there. And there's one of Maya, and this one I just had the tinsel on the back, and this one just has nothing in the back, which I'm probably going to add decorative paper in there. So hope you guys like that, and stay tuned for more videos. Bye!